UMi want to increase quality with their new UMi Touch flagship. At least that is what marketing does tell us. The recipe for success: a phone with a not so much up-to-date SoC, but with nice specs around it, sold at only $150. Now, if this plan makes up for a good handset is what we wanna figure out right here and now. First impression upon unboxing the UMi Touch is quite positive. The small box is entirely black and does look simple yet elegant. Inside we find the accessories in separate boxes. This includes a USB cable, a 1 ampere power supply, a quick start guide and a SIM tray tool. The UMi Touch is kind of a Meizu MX5 knockoff. Well, it isn't a 100% replica, but there are quite some parallels which you cannot deny. Anyway, it does look nice and that's what counts for most. But it is quite a bit larger than the Meizu MX5. The build is on quite a high level, taking the price tag into account, but it isn't perfect by far. The handset does feel quite sturdy and I have a hard time bending it. The hardware buttons do not move. Unfortunately, build quality doesn't seem to be consistent, which you can see when having a look at the rear of both UMi Touches I have here. On this device, the aluminum cover is sticking out a bit from the plastic covers, while on the second Touch this isn't the case. Well, that's complaining at a high level, but I would have liked UMi to pay some more attention to detail here. Same thing happening on the home button. On this UMi Touch we hear a squeaking noise when pressing it and sometimes it even gets stuck. On the other Touch, however, the button has a nice pressure point and it does only make a clicking noise. Besides of that, there are no negative points to mention, so let's move on to a quick look around the phone, starting with the front. Next to the home button, we find two capacitive buttons, which are symbolized by 2 points that light up once you touch them. Above the screen, we find the usual arrangement consisting of the front camera, sensors and the phone receiver. There also is a front LED flash, but there is no status LED unfortunately. On the sides we find the micro USB port and the voice mic on the bottom, the hardware buttons on the right, the headphone jack on the top and the combo SIM tray on the left. The back contains a nice UMi logo, the media speakers as well as the camera along a dual tone LED flash. The camera does stick out of the body quite a bit. The UMi Touch's screen has been a bit of a disappointment. Basically the 5.5-inch Full HD LCD panel is pretty nice, but the quality is destroyed by two major flaws which we are going to cover in depth now. First of all, the all-time famous topic, clouding. Yes, UMi once again managed to make this issue relevant. In case you don't know, clouding is what is generally called white or bright spots on a LCD panel, which are caused by pressure applied to it from the back by other components of the device. This usually happens if the gap between, for example, the main board and the screen is not large enough, or if there isn't enough protection. Now, if you put pressure on the front, which will naturally happen during daily use, the panel will bend slightly, which makes the components on the back press against the LCD panel again and again. Exactly this is what causes those white spots, which you can see here very well. Now, if I put pressure on the screen intentionally, you can even see that there is something behind the screen that presses against the LCD panel, causing those spots you see. I urge UMi to do something about that as soon as possible. The next issue does affect the touch panel. This one does have a software issue that some of you who owned an Elephone P6000 may be familiar with. The resolution of the touch panel is way too low. You can see this best when I scroll something on the screen, which results in heavy lagging. You also can see it when I drag icons diagonally across the screen, which results in a stairway effect. Now that might sound like a minor issue to you, but is seriously annoying during everyday use. Due to this bug, the panel isn't very precise, which means you will have a hard time hitting smaller buttons, constantly have typos in your text, and issues while playing shooter games due to imprecise aiming. Anyway, UMi is aware of this issue and promised to fix it with the next software update, just like it happened on the Elephone P6000. So let's hope for the best. The performance of the UMi Touch is surprisingly good. It seems like with Android 6.0 Marshmallow, the good old MT675 chipset is getting some fresh steam under the hood. I don't know why, but the whole system and apps feel a lot snappier than on Lollipop, and benchmark results are higher as well. The 3 GB of RAM are pretty fast for the price range as well, reaching 3.5 GB per second. The internal 16 GB memory reached 163 MB per second reading speed and 74 MB per second writing speed, which is pretty good as well. A bit disappointing, however, are sensors. You only get the very basics there, and there is no magnetic field sensor or gyroscope, which is a real letdown in my opinion. The fingerprint scanner works extremely well. It is embedded into the physical home button of the device and works by just touching it. Unlocking your phone does take less than 1 second and the failure rate is very low. The sensor even recognizes oily or soaked fingers, which is very nice. The UMi Touch, as mentioned before, runs Android 6.0 Marshmallow. The ROM is an almost unmodified vanilla Android. The only changes that have been made are the launcher and app drawer. Bloatware or malicious software is not present. OTA updates are supported, and to this day there have been free updates already. A few bugs are present though. On the home screen there is some issue with folders which do not have a background, which means it is hard to read and distinguish these icons. Also, there have been crashes from time to time. Mobile network signal is very good on UMi Touch, on par with much more expensive phones, and there even is support for the FDD LTE band 20. Wi-Fi signal is okay, but drops faster than on other phones when moving away from the router. This didn't cause any issues during the testing phase though. GPS does work very well. Within 10 seconds the Touch easily gets a fix for 16 satellites and an accuracy of 3 meters with cloudy sky. Navigation and tracking apps work like a charm and never went off the track. The speaker inside the UMi Touch does reach quite a high volume, but as oh so often lacks depth or basses, which means that listening to music isn't too much of fun. If you use headphones, however, you get a very nice audio quality with a high maximum volume and no background noises. Telephony quality is pretty good, but there is no noise cancelling mic. UMi did a lot of advertisement for the camera inside the UMi Touch. The phone comes with an allegedly very nice Sony IMX328 sensor operating at 13.3 megapixels resolution along an f2.2 aperture. Indeed, we can confirm that the sensor is pretty good, at least for pictures that are taken at daylight. Those pictures offer very nice colors, good details even on objects that are far away, and there are no bad lenses that would cause blurry edges or corners. Less impressive, however, is the time the camera takes to focus and take a picture. Unfortunately, the camera still has quite some issues with bad light. The preview starts to lag heavily for some reason, which is also noticeable in low light videos. In addition, there is quite some noise in the pictures and a decrease in sharpness is noticeable as well. This can be improved with updates though. The HDR mode also didn't fully satisfy me. It tends to overdraw fine lines, which does look kinda strange. The dual LED flash is very bright, but does not manage to improve low light performance of the camera, except for close-ups and macro shots. Videos do look quite okay, but are not perfect yet. The audio quality is pretty nice. The 5 megapixel front camera is made from Hynix, but doesn't really impress. Pictures do not look very sharp, and with bad lighting, the camera totally fails. The front LED flash doesn't help at all, since it isn't brighter than some status LED would be. UMi advertises the Touch to come with a 4000 mAh battery, but we doubt that. Our verification tool displayed 3500 mAh for both of the UMi Touches we own. Taking the discrepancy of plus minus 200 mAh into account, we suspect the battery to have around 3700 mAh of real capacity. While that lie is sad, that is still a decent amount of capacity. So how's battery life doing? Well, it's pretty good. 7 hours and 21 minutes of screen on time at 40% screen brightness in the Geekbench free battery test are not bad at all. For me, this equals a real life usage time of full 2 days on intense usage, which is more than enough. What I do not understand at all though is why UMi don't use fast charging. Using the power supply and USB cable that comes with the UMi Touch, we noticed that it charges with a maximum of 0.54 milliamps. which takes about 8 hours from 0 to 100%. Using a stronger power supply and a different cable, it reaches up to 1.5 amperes of charging current, and it takes only close to 3 hours to fully charge the battery, but that still is pretty long. Bottom line, the UMi Touch is a proof that UMi tries to become better and create more decent phones than in the past. Anyway, they still haven't been able to fully get rid of the negative patterns they have been showing in the past. Clouding issues and battery lies, for example. Also, the build quality has to become more consistent. Anyway, once they improve the camera a bit more and fix the clouding and the touch panel issues, the UMi Touch still is a very decent package for the asked amount of cash. It isn't without competitors though. Xiaomi and Meizu are to mention here. So that's all from my side. Thank you for watching this review, and I hope you will be with me again on the next one. As usual, if you have questions, drop a comment. The link to the shop as well as more information can be found in the video description. If you like what we are doing at ChinaMobileMag/ChinaDevices.net, make sure to subscribe to this channel and pay us a visit on www.ChinaMobileMag.de and www.ChinaDevices.net. Bye bye, over and out.